The Finals is an upcoming FPS title that merges all-out battle, destruction, and high-intensity action with an extraction-style gameplay objective, but there's more to it than a singular sentence can really convey, so what's it all about? Yesterday we gave our review of the initial play sessions, but today I wanted to break down a bit more of everything you need to know in more depth, so as we go along, drop your thoughts below. Are you liking the look of the Finals? Have you played it? How you feel about it? Are you interested in seeing more content on the Finals? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. And I gotta say, thanks for the love on yesterday's video. Jumping into a new game than what we're normally used to here is a bit nerve-wracking, but glad you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and maybe consider subscribing, but let's get into what the Finals is all about. So let's start basic. Currently, the Finals is in closed beta on PC, but will it be coming to other platforms? Yes, right now it's slated to be coming to PC, PlayStation 5, as well as Xbox Series S and X, with no plans to be coming to PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, unfortunately. So while right now it's inaccessible on console, rest assured that if it looks interesting to you, you'll have the ability to play it in due time. One thing that's currently unknown in relation to that discussion on platforms is if this will be supporting crossplay, as so many games do in recent times. That, unfortunately, is a gameplay feature that is yet to be confirmed or denied by Embark Studios, so we'll just have to wait a bit longer to hear about that one. One interesting hint perhaps that it could happen is that there is the inclusion of in-game IDs that are currently independent of your Steam ID in the closed beta, perhaps alluding to an Embark side matchmaking with accounts specific to either the game or the studio, not necessarily platform based, but that's just an educated guess. Nothing set in stone though, so let's move on without talking too much to speculation. Next up, while Xbox and PlayStation players can't access the game right now, when can you? Another unfortunate question mark here, the full release date is not yet given for the Finals, but it's anticipated to be sometime in late Q3 or Q4 of this year. The coming soon tag leaves much to the imagination, but with the game being in a playable beta state, fingers crossed that it should be sometime later this year. Now, one nice part, however, is that whenever this does launch, what can be reassuring to players is that it will be free to play, meaning that if you're intrigued right now, you can jump in when it is launched and not have to worry about putting any money down towards something that maybe you don't quite like after the fact. While I'm sure that we all hope we enjoy something we put time into, fact of the matter is that that happens from time to time. You put time into a game and you might not like it, or that might happen more often than we may care to admit, but whatever the outcome, there isn't any planned monetary barrier of entry in jumping into the Finals once it fully releases. But okay, that's the future. What about now? What if I'm on PC? What if I want to jump in? How can I get access to the Finals, and how long does the closed beta last? Firstly, in how to gain access, this is something as simple as just requesting access for the game on the game's Steam page, where it seems to be arbitrary, but more and more people I've seen are starting to get contacted about it. Seems like it might be like a steady rollout of invites, but from there, if you gain access, that should show up in your email with access and you can install from there. Now, if you get in, the beta started yesterday and it goes until March 21st, so a 2-week window that hopefully you can jump in and get some hands-on time before it goes away for another indefinite amount of time. One final note here before we get into gameplay details that's nice to know is that Embark are actively already working on the game with fixes and adjustments as this closed beta happens. It's not just a tech test and they drop it for 2 weeks and don't touch anything and it's in a static state. They've already dropped the patch version 0.1 to fix a few issues, one of the biggest ones being the 0 damage bullet hit reg bug that wouldn't register for players. I had that happen after my first game yesterday when I'd first jumped in. Super annoying, and it lasted game over game, so I couldn't do much. But that's fixed out now, but now let's talk about the gameplay. What's the point of the Finals? Once you get past the graphical fidelity and destruction in the game, what's the point? What is the gameplay loop and objective? Well, currently the main objective right now is to open vaults, extract the cash drops, and deposit them to accrue the most amount of money possible in a game. The team, obviously at the end with the most, is crowned the winners. So that's it in a nutshell. Find, open those vaults, deposit the cash, make sure someone doesn't steal it from your team, and you're golden. Whether or not this will be the entirety of the game or only one singular mode, that's unclear at the moment, but this is what we have in the closed beta. But that said, along the way, there's plenty more to it than just simply doing that. The gameplay loop goes much more in depth when you start to get down to what you can individually use. One of the big things here out of this that makes it so variable is contestant classes, each made up of different specializations, weapons, gadgets, reserves, and all, but differing slightly based on class type. You have 3 different class types: light, medium, and heavy classes, again, all slightly differing. So the light class, one of the big differences here that you'll notice is that you only have one 150 health. The others, respectively with medium and heavy, are 250 and 350. So you do have less health, but you end up running around the map much quicker than everybody else. So you kind of play that fast and loose, but also risk it a little bit with that damage difference. For the light specializations, you have a cloaking device, which will temporarily make you harder to see while moving and invisible when motionless, the grappling hook, which lets you launch to scale structures, and an evasive dash, which is a quick few dashes to get you out of a bind. As for weaponry available to the light class, you have the V9S, which is a short-range semi-auto suppressed pistol, the LH1, a semi-auto rifle, the M11, which is a fast-firing machine pistol, the Assassin's Dagger, which is a melee weapon, the 30-06 sniper, which is a bolt-action scoped sniper, the sawed-off shotgun, which is a double barrel with a wide pellet spread, and a sword, which is a high-damage melee weapon. Then, as for your gadgets to round out what you end up having on offer for the light class, you have a glitch grenade, which interrupts opponents' screens and ability to use their gadgets. You have a gas, frag, and smoke grenade. You have thermal vision, which reveals enemy heat signatures. You have a breaching charge, which is an explosive that can remotely detonate, kind of like your C4. You have a proximity sensor, which reveals opponent locations once they get close. You have an incendiary grenade. You have a goo grenade, which will explode into blobs of glue that solidify on impact. That can be really helpful in walling off areas if you're trying to deposit cash or something. You have a flashbang and then a stun gun. Now, the medium class, again, health being 250 on this one, a middle ground here for all the playstyles. Those specializations include a healing beam, which is a beam of health that directly heals your teammates, a guardian turret, which is a deployable AI-controlled assault rifle, and recon senses, which is a sensory enhancement that makes opponents visible through structures but weakens at a distance. You also have the weapons, the AKM, which is an assault rifle, fully auto, the pump-action GL grenade launcher, the R357 high-powered revolver, the repeater, and the riot shield, which is, well, a riot shield. For gadgets, you have a jump pad, which is a trampoline-like deployable for higher jumps. You have a defibrillator for reviving teammates quicker, a gas grenade, frag grenade, a sonar grenade, which emits sonar pulses, revealing the location of competitors, the explosive mine, which is basically your bouncing Betty. You have night vision, which improves your sight in dark places and low light conditions. Definitely nice to consider because, of course, you have day and night cycles to work with in this game. You have the gas mine, which, when triggered, it emits a toxic gas. You have the zip line, which fires a harpoon to a target so that players can either slide in ascending or descending manners. You have an incendiary grenade, the goo grenade again, the flashbang, a glitch trap, which is the same thing as a glitch grenade, but in a trap format, a tracking dart, which shows locations of enemies who are hit for a short period of time, and an APS turret, which is deployable that shoots down enemy projectiles. And finally, the heavy class has a health of 350, the most health, but the slowest moving class, which has a specialization of a charge and slam, which is a charge to propel you forward or break through walls and obstacles. It can also slam if activated in the air and deals big damage to enemies. The goo gun, which is essentially your goo grenade, but in a sort of gun format. Great again for walling off locations that players may be able to break through. And then finally, you have the mesh shield, which is a projected shield that blocks you from the front and can act as cover for teammates. You can also shoot through it through the activated side. So if a teammate's behind you, they can shoot through it. It's not blocking bullets from each way. For the weapons, you have the M60 high fire rate LMG. You have the flamethrower, which sounds like what it is. The sledgehammer is a melee weapon. The SA-1216 is a rapid fire shotgun with a quad tube mag. So every 4 shots, you have to repump it, and the M32 GL, which is a 6-shot grenade launcher. And then finally, for your gadgets, you have the RPG-7, which is a high explosive rocket, C4, which is, well, C4, the barricade, which is a durable shield for cover, the gas, frag, incendiary, and goo grenades, the explosive mines, night vision, flashbangs, a dome shield, which produces a semi-transparent bubble that offers 360-degree protection, and the incendiary mine, which is the grenade, but in mine format. So picking your contestant and however you want to play, you can jump in and try and do the objectives here within the game. But again, everything ends up coming down to individual match-by-match cases, and we'll touch on that in just a second. But let's say you get in, you get some kills, but what happens if you end up dying? Is there respawning? Yes, there is respawning. You can jump back into it. It's not a singular life mode, but to a degree, there is some limitations to it. We'll touch on that in just a second. But firstly, talking of respawns, there's 2 different types of respawn timers you can end up having. Firstly, an individual death respawn timer. That will be 30 seconds after you die that you can end up jumping back in. You end up having to use a respawn token to get back in, but you have 30 seconds in which you can do that. Now, the other thing is if your entire team gets wiped, that's also 30 seconds. But the unfortunate part here that kind of can take you out of the game for a little bit longer is that if you are on that countdown timer for your own individual death, but the rest of your team then gets wiped after the fact, that resets that timer so that you're then in line with the team wipe countdown. So let's just say theoretically you're at 2 seconds and then the rest of your team dies. Well, then it goes back up to 30 seconds. So you have 58 seconds waiting to respawn here with that, as opposed to just the simple 30. That is something that can be absolutely game-changing because it does take you out of the game for almost a whole minute at that point, in theory. Now, like I said, you can get back in, but you use a respawn token, which you end up having 2 to 3 of these per match. I personally didn't find myself dying too much individually like that, where I was too separated and I had to use one. Either my team was dying with me as we all pushed and we just got wiped or something like that, or I had a teammate that was able to revive me, or I ended up using those tokens. But again, not really solely relying on just having to use those tokens to get back into play. So in theory, yes, it can be problematic, but you might not run into it as much as it may seem, especially if you're playing with a full team. Now, beyond that, the gameplay loop itself, while simple and objective, is something that creates a pretty unique style of play, because the nice part about the finals is that outside of the parameters, again, of that basic objective, you can play however you'd like. You have a million different options here of the things that you can use across light, medium, and heavy classifications, and all of the weaponry and utility you have on offer. Plus, mix that in with day and night cycles, different weather variations here in the dynamic weather systems for the maps themselves, all the destructions of the environment and everything. You'll of course have ways to enter engagements that match over match will not be the same every single time, and that's something that is pretty cool that you can use to your advantage, especially if you do some stuff that opponents may not see coming. So that about does it, I think, for the gameplay aspect here, but let's talk a little bit about what's also on offer outside of the game. There is progression in this, there is additional items that we should talk about, so let's jump into that. Firstly, how do you progress? Because there is, again, a ranking system. The most basic format is to just simply play the game, score, do better, try and finish the top of your team, do challenges that help with your XP as well. That all stuff progresses your career rank, plus also a battle pass, either if activated or even if not, both of which earn you new items. Some you can choose to activate via the battle pass of the beta, and also the career items are always active. Things like cosmetics, credits, other stuff like that are earned by just simply playing the game. Cosmetically speaking, as we discussed, there's a number of different items on offer in the store, battle pass and career items, with some items like weaponry having skins already unlocked for free and usable out of the gate. As we mentioned in the review video yesterday, I would imagine being the game is planned to be free to play, that the shop will be monetized through real life currency, but as of recording this and as the beta, those items are only purchasable with in-game credits and no real world cash transactions available to gain more. Instead, all credits right now are earned through the battle pass and career levels, incentivizing play. Whether or not that holds up, we don't quite know. Contestant customization is already vast in just the beta state, offering the ability to customize things like your outfit, body type, face, hair, headwear, facewear, upper body, crossbody, badge, back, wrist, hands, lower body, and feet cosmetics, with additional customization items and poses and emotes that can be used and seen in-game and sort of like cutscenes and those winner circle kind of stuff. But cosmetically speaking, you can mix and match any of those categories that we just mentioned, and you're not locked to one specific set of items if they come bundled together. Tons of freedom in that regard. And finally, again, outside of the gameplay loop, the world of the finals, they are building up some sort of narrative here, some sort of universal lore. The world of the finals is a game that's meant to feel unrealistic to a degree because, well, the very core of the story is. It's meant to be a game show where us, the contestants, fight for fame and glory by winning our matches. So it's something, if you hear those jeers from the crowd or announcers, that's because we're quite literally playing a game within a game. Now, the final, pun intended, thing to mention here is a sort of exit piece of the closed beta. The cool part is that while we have a lot to show for in this beta, not everything will be like all for naught. When you play and rank up, you'll notice that there are certain items with the permanent tag associated with them. That indicates that if you reach those items and unlock them, you'll be able to keep those even after the beta ends, meaning that when the game first initially launches, you'll have certain cosmetics, skins, and all to commemorate your playtime in the closed beta and have a bit of a collectible in that regard if you're somebody that likes to hold on to items that can't be earned after the fact. Again, while there's no ETA on when that will be, it is cool that we do see some stuff carry over from the beta itself. And I think that's about it. That is what I think is everything you need to know about the finals closed beta here on PC, currently going on for Steam for the next 2 weeks. If you're a fan of the COD content that we normally do, don't worry, we likely have some Season 2 reloaded items to detail here really soon, as it's expected to come next week, if not the week following, since we just had a teaser that dropped today. But I wanted to dip the toes a little bit further in the water of expansion here again and give a follow-up and in-depth guide to what the finals is, and not just my own personal thoughts on what we did yesterday. So that said, let me know your thoughts. Are you liking the finals? Do you guys enjoy what we see here so far out of the game? Are you liking different content other than COD? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay updated with all things here we have on the channel. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.